kill it. I was meant to win. I am down and willing, so I will find a way. It took a minute, now it didn't happen right away. When it get hot in the kitchen, you decide to stay. That's how it winners made. Stick a fork in the hater on my dinner plate. I walk into the fire like it's just a bit of flame. I switch my style up with the money pile up. I'ma get rich with life.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Clydesdale Media Podcast. We are live with none other than Alex Gazan. What's going on, Alex?
Hi, just woke up.
Yeah. And you've got a great big blender full of smoothie.
I do. It's breakfast, easy breakfast.
Yeah, we gotta let you get your nutrition in.
I find I'm not usually that hungry in the morning, so having a smoothie just makes it easier to get calories in.
Yeah, I have my nutrition coach wants me to eat breakfast right away, but it is so hard for me to get up and immediately eat. And nobody wants to stand over the stove at wake up time. So
Agreed.
So we haven't talked in a while, so I'm going to go back to a couple things from last year's games, and then we'll kind of move forward through that. But last year was kind of at the games was your coming out party.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you won most improved. Was that a surprise?
To win most improved?
Yeah.
I think I didn't obviously know who else. I kind of forgot that was an award, to be honest. I know they did Rookie of the Year, and then when they started talking about most improved, I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. So it didn't shock me because crunching the numbers, that was a big jump. But yeah, I kind of forgot that was a thing.
Do you display that at all, or is that something you just kind of have?
I have the belt in my garage, so I have a little wall where I put my signs and little things. So it's in the garage.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we talked to you at the games last year. You had just started working with Chris Henshaw.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still working with him today?
Yeah. So he's still my guy. He does all my conditioning programming, so running, biking, swimming, all that good stuff. And he's actually coming to Vegas at the end of the month, so I'm excited to see him.
Cool. So you finished the games in 5th place. I'm sure you had to sit down with Justin and Chris, probably both. What did you learn from that year at the games, and what did it change in your training going forward?
There was obviously all your holes in competitions, they always get exposed. So my Olympic lifting, so my snatch, that was one we already knew, but just another reminder that we have to keep working on it super diligently. My running, I was middle of the pack, and so that was another thing, we need to be on that. But yeah, it was really just as most competitions are, you just go through each event, you figure out where you could do better, where you did well, what's working, what's not working. So for me, really just getting more fit all around, technique work, things like that.
So running is monostructural. It's very different than everything else you do. Snatching is a strength movement, and it's in a group with things that you're really good at. Is it more frustrating that you can't get that or can't get the run?
Well, now snatching, obviously I didn't display it very well at West Coast. More now it's becoming, now my physical capabilities are there, so now it's just rewiring my my head to believe it, and rewiring my head to execute it. So I'm not as frustrated with that. I know it will click eventually, and it's starting to. So just having patience there. The running is frustrating because it's one of those things with a snatch, I know I have the physical capability, so it's more just okay, you need to figure out how to make it happen. With running, obviously you do have a certain physical capability, but you can improve on it. And so I get frustrated not being better than I am where I'm at. You just always want to be better than you are, because it's kind of a slower progress rate than I was hoping, but still grinding, still working on it.
That's really fascinating because in my mind, so I came from like a powerlifting thing when I jumped into CrossFit, and the Olympic lifts were so hard for me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to power them. I didn't focus on the technique it took to get them done. And
Hmm.
so it was so frustrating that as a strong person, I couldn't get the
Yeah.
lifts, right?
Oh, I totally understand. Like, I think for the longest time, I was so frustrated because I didn't understand how to fix it. But like now I'm learning the technique enough that I know how to fix it. So like while my placement at West Coast wasn't great, like for that event, finishing it and also having misses and being able to like, okay, you missed it, what happened, like fix it was really big in the sense of a couple years ago, had I missed a lift, the whole train would have fell off and I probably would have missed like 10 more times. So that part's getting there.
Are you to a point where the ladder is easier or a 1 rep max?
Mm, well, I don't know. They're probably equal at this point. The girls are just really good. Like snatching now, there's just so many girls that are so good that to be honest, I'd still probably be average on both. Like I can hit like around 200 snatch now, but now the big girls are throwing around 220, 225. So it's definitely that is definitely I think a movement in CrossFit that has grown significantly.
But the good thing is you have some things that you're the best in the world at, right? And those home runs can offset if you can just stay in that like upper third.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My hope is to like be in the upper third because I think like I was always in the middle, like with like all these events. So like I want to at least get like up a little bit
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. So you move into the off season, you immediately then get an invite to Rogue. You
Hmm.
go do that, you put on a show with the deadlift. You won 2 events at that event at there, right?
Yes, sir. I won the deadlift and the back squatting event.
Yeah. So did that give you confidence at all going into the off season? Because at that point you didn't really compete after that.
Yeah, of course. Like it's always like very confidence boosting placing that well and the best women in the world that are there and of course like I also take it with a grain of salt that Rogue is like my bread and butter and it probably always will be like their programming is very strength biased and skill biased and whereas like a competition like Wadapalooza is very straight up CrossFit, you know. So yeah, definitely confidence. I had a lot more like little injuries and just like things that I didn't expect to deal with this off season that I had to. So we had like all these plans of like diving straight at first and all these things, and we didn't quite get to the way we had hoped, but um, still was able to like hit a lot of things, which is nice.
So was the injury the reason you didn't really do any of the competitions after Rogue, or was it just
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to like train. I had a bone bruise in my wrist. I actually got it right like my first workout back from the games. I developed it. Um, and bone bruises are really slow to heal, um, especially in your wrist where there's not a lot of blood flow. And in CrossFit, you use your wrists for everything. So I just was teetering this line for so long where it would be like kind of getting better and then I'd piss it off. It'd be kind of getting better and then I'd piss it off like over and over and over. And I couldn't snatch, which was like the one thing that I really needed to do. Um, so I was thankful that didn't show up at Rogue other than like the light barbell. Um, so it kind of just like it took a long time. Like I think at the end of October, I finally was like, okay, like I'm not gonna do anything that pisses it off. So I actually like gave it that time. But by the time it was like actually getting better, I just was like, I don't want to compete. Like I want to train. Like now we need to train. So that was kind of the reasoning behind that.
so you went to Wadapalooza even though you didn't compete and you just kind of hung out and you did some activations with Reebok. What
Mhm.
was what was that experience like being on the other side for once?
Oh my gosh, so exhausting. I thought I literally thought it was gonna be like a vacation and like fun. And it was fun, don't get me wrong, but like I was zonked by the end of it. And I remember like Justin was like, make sure like training's a priority when you go. And I was like, yeah, like no problem. Like I'm gonna have so much time. It's gonna be easy. It was not. I was like so tired, and I think just like so much walking and like so much social engagement. It was exhausting.
It is. So I call Wadapalooza the CrossFit family reunion because like
Yeah.
everybody's there. Like you can't walk more than 4 steps without seeing somebody you know. And I imagine that after your performance last year, everybody recognized you walking through the crowds at Wadapalooza.
Uh, it was definitely really sweet. I like got asked for a few pictures, and yeah, it was very sweet.
But even with all that, it is such a sensory overload with the
Mhm.
lights and the music and the like it's like being in a dance club for 48 hours straight.
Yeah, the music is loud. I remember too, like at one point, like you're just trying to like find somewhere to escape it, and you really can't.
Not at all. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't get there this year, and it's actually probably the best year to miss because of all the rain
it was
and stuff like that.
cold. Yeah.
But man, the last 2 years, I just remember how exhausted I was just watching the event. So I
Mhm.
can't even imagine like having to do activations and all that stuff on top of it and the obligations with Reebok. So so you get through Wadapalooza, you the season starts. Were you good to go? Everything wrist was good going into the open.
Yeah, yeah. I felt relatively like healthy for sure.
And so what did you set any goals for this season?
For which part? All of it?
All of it.
I mean, yeah, like obviously like, you want to do better than you did last year, so like the podium was definitely is and was definitely a goal. But also like something that's really important to me is like not placing all my eggs in the basket of like that's my goal, and if I don't get it then like I lost. So obviously just like making improvements all around, and this year is going to be harder. Like I think the field this year is um there's a lot of really good women, and obviously we lost like there's people that aren't competing, but there's also a lot of people that are really good. So um yeah, just
And
staying in the fight. That's it.
and when Tia comes back, it shakes up the whole top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean like I I like the most realistic thing is like we're all fighting for second. Like I mean if it's anything that she displayed at semifinals, like she's back full throttle, you know?
She won 6 championships for a reason, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
um but it I don't know. I'm one of the few people that don't believe in absolutes, right? Like sports is sports for a reason. We watch it for the drama and anything can happen.
Oh, for sure, for
Right?
sure. But I just mean in the sense of like if she's healthy and nothing horrific happens, like if semifinals was any indication, like she's back. You know, like at Rogue, I feel like she had a couple events where you could tell like she was still training it back up. Like the back squats, like I feel like in the past, like she would have like not had to belt up so much and like just went faster, but like you could tell she was being a little cautious. And the deadlift, like she wasn't wearing a belt again, like a little more cautious. But like I don't know, just seeing her compete at the East, like you could tell she was like ready, like she was there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at the East this year.
Hmm.
It was pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah.
But enough about her. I'm going to come back to you. Um and kind of like something overarching with the sport. One thing that I've always admired with you is your work life balance. Your work is training and getting ready for the games and competing in CrossFit. But you have such a good balance. And we're seeing so many cases where young women are having to take a step back from the sport. And we just found out this week that Emma Lawson almost didn't compete this year, according to her coach in his YouTube blog.
Wait, sorry, say that one more time. Oh, you cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we learned this week that Emma Lawson almost didn't compete
Oh
this year
wow.
because of some stuff going on, like burnout and the mental struggle of all that, according
Yeah.
to a coach in his YouTube blog.
Yeah.
So do you make a concerted effort with that work-life balance, or do you feel that as well, even with all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard sport. I think like as a spectator, especially like I watched the CrossFit Games a couple years before I made it. Like I was there and I didn't follow like a training regimen. I just kind of like did what I wanted. Um it's really easy to like glamorize the life of a CrossFit athlete, and I was really guilty of it as well. Like you just see Instagram and you're like, wow, like that's like the most perfect life. Like you get paid to train and like work out and compete and all eyes are on you. Like but like the once you get I feel like for me like this last year, like once you get to a certain level, you're no longer it doesn't quite feel like you're climbing this mountain. It feels like other people are trying to drag you off the mountain. Um and I'm not even like the fittest on earth. Like I'm fifth and I feel that way. So like I can imagine like Emma being on the podium a couple times. Like people just expect things of you. They expect you to be the best, and of course that's what you want too, but you can't control other people, and training's hard. It's not easy, especially like when you're sore and you want to go to a lake day with your friends, but you can't because you have 3 sessions you have to do and you're not going to be done by the time they leave. Like it's definitely like for me the hardest part is like with my husband, like we don't we used to do so much together on like the weekends. Like we'd go camping, we just would fly by the seat of our pants and like do all this fun stuff. And like now we can't. We have one day together and I'm like I can't go on a hike because I don't want to exert any extra energy. And it's like real talk, like it's difficult because then you don't have those like things to bond over. Um, CrossFit's really selfish. Like there's just it's you have to do all the things you have to do, and um, yeah, it's definitely difficult. So this year, like I have caught myself feeling a lot of those feelings sometimes, but then like for me, what always grounds me is like you just have to do what you can do, and at the end of the day, like you have to be okay with whatever that ends up being, and as long as you're stay true to who you are and to the people around you, then like it's all going to be okay. Like I had people that loved me before I did well in CrossFit, and as long as I stay true to myself, I'll have people that love me after CrossFit. So
Is it good for you that Jake isn't really a part of CrossFit? Like he's just your husband, your fan, or is does that make it more difficult because you have this other thing you have to give so much attention to?
no, I think like both ways would have their advantages and their cons. Like if he was a CrossFit Games athlete, I guess he would also like just be in the same boat with me, right? Like he would like we would just be doing the same things and it'd be fun. And we used to work out together all the time, so I miss that a lot. That was how we met and like started dating was we would work out together at CrossFit. And um, so I'm really looking forward to that after I'm done competing is like going to classes again with him. And but anyway, the way it is now, like obviously it is nice like for like job security, like he has a different job, and um, that's good. And like he he like has the ability to help take care of things that I just can't. Um, but yeah, I just miss him. I miss like the quality time. And his job, he works in California, so we do long distance during this part of the year, which part of it's good because I'm so busy with training and it helps me not feel pressure to like rush around. But it also sucks because then I'm training all day and I come home and I'm alone. So like definitely pros and cons.
So we'll come back to Jake in a second, but with that, I know that you and Justin have a really tight relationship and his
Hmm.
whole family, right? Like I see,
Yeah.
I see Instagram posts with you and Ivy and you and Jax and all of that stuff. how important is it for you to have a coach that takes that more family approach to things?
Well, to be honest, Justin's my only like coach, like actual coach I've ever had. Like obviously I've had like coaches at doing class at CrossFit, but like as far as like my coach, like he was my first one, and obviously he set the bar really high. And so I guess it's just all I've ever known. Like I don't know what it would be like to have a coach that's not like that, and especially for me being in Vegas, like where I don't have my family here. Um, it is really nice because they are family, and um, like I just spent the day at the pool with Ashley and Ivy and my friend the other day, and um, yeah, it's very nice because then I know like I have people in my corner outside of the gym, and it's very sweet.
And it goes both ways. I mean,
Yeah.
they moved and needed a place to stay, and you gave them that place to stay during their move.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was fun. It was a good time.
So it's cool that you guys have that relationship, because
Yeah.
because a lot of the people only see Justin as the guy yelling on the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
And away from the competition floor, he's so laid back and so
Yeah.
cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely like in the CrossFit world, like he's just old school. Like he calls it how it is. He gets excited when it's good. He gets pissed when it's not, and it's just like very black and white. And um, I think for a long time, like I didn't quite experience that as much because I was just like I made the games and like I was kind of like, but now it's like full throttle because he's just so excited and um, yeah, he's awesome. It's really great.
The other thing is he's brutally honest, and he is so
Yep.
honest about how he feels that you can become a bulletproof athlete and
Yep.
that you could win the game someday. When someone believes in you that much, is there pressure with that, or do you just soak it in as someone that actually is? It's cool that someone believes in me.
Both. Like, of course, there's pressure that comes with it because, like, he's invested so much time into me, and like, you never want that to be for like nothing, you know. Like, you want him to also see the fruits of that labor and make him proud in that sense. Um, so yeah, definitely both, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, and and you say like your family's in here; they're back in Oregon still, right?
Yeah.
Do you get to go back and see them much these days?
Usually after competition. So like I went after semifinals for a few days and that was really nice. I ended up getting sick, which was a bummer. But usually after like after the games, I spent a couple weeks there. So not as much as I'd like, but I do get to see them.
Do you miss Oregon at all?
I miss the summertime there. I love the summer. There's like so many fun things to do. There's lots of like rivers and waterfall hikes and um, just like fun things. And here in the summer, it's like a Minnesota winter. Like you're like hibernating because it's so hot out. Um, so I definitely like best of both worlds would be nice, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So the Vegas summer is going to be hot.
Yep,
Uh,
we're already there.
the Texas summer is going to be hot. Do you think that you're better prepared training in the heat in Vegas now in case there are outdoor events in Fort Worth?
I mean, yeah, I think like physiologically, like there is that heat acclimation um, part, which I would hope that I'm ready for. But also at the end of the day, I think a lot of it is just like not mental toughness, but you're more understanding of how it feels and how to like regulate your paces and what you're doing to accommodate for it. Um, but I'm really curious. I'm not sure how many events they're gonna pull off outside unless they wake us up at like 3 a.m. I don't know if you have thoughts about that, but I think they would have to do some crazy things to make it happen, and I just feel like that takes away from the show of it all.
So I think I think there's probably going to be a run. There's a trail right beside the arena.
Mhm.
It just seems to make sense.
Yeah.
I think there's a pool close to the arena.
Yeah.
So I
But
think
the pool is different because that's not like temperature.
correct.
Temperature.
The only thing I think that could happen other than those two things are CrossFit always embraces the locale that they do it. And one big thing in Texas is Friday night football.
Mm.
So it would kind of be smart or not to embrace that. I could see them taking you to like a football stadium on a Friday night under the lights to do something just to like honor the Texas football tradition.
That would be cool. I've always thought that a really cool test would be a beep test, like just a running beep test on a field with everybody.
Yeah. And you can even do like football type drills on a football field, right? Because
Yeah.
if it's sprinty, then you don't have to really worry about the heat as much,
Yeah, that's true.
right? Like a 40-yard dash and a vertical jump and a just weird stuff like that.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know. They used to do that like in 11 and 12.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd go back to doing that again,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
but I think it'd be cool to do it in a football stadium. And there's a couple of them around the arena.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So those are my only thoughts with that. But I want to talk about, I watched the behind the scenes that Savon did from West Coast the first day released last night.
Oh,
So,
cool. I'll have to watch it.
I hurried up and watched it this morning so that if you were in it, I could address that. But you're in a lot of the very beginning of it
Okay.
where you're walking the run path.
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
and he's asking you questions about the berm and all of those things. In that video, you were very excited about running the berm,
Mm-hmm.
and then they took it out.
Mm-hmm.
Were you disappointed with that?
Oh, yeah, of course. I thought, well, for multiple reasons. One, I wanted, like, it's so iconic, right? Like, the berm is like what CrossFit did when it was in Carson, and so it would have been cool to experience that the same way that they did. And then just for the sake of the event, like I tend to fare better when things are harder and more complicated, and um, people tend to get weak and like give up on things like a double set of stairs and another hill, and I just think that would have fared a little better for me. But that's okay. It is what it is.
And so my question to you, you've been working with Hinshaw,
Mm-hmm.
that is a long run.
Yeah.
Did you feel the difference after the 6 or 7 months you've been, it's actually been longer than that, I guess now, 10 months you've been with Chris?
I think like my awareness with myself with running is a lot better. Like I can feel what I'm doing better, my technique's a little better. I understand like my pacing a little better. But we still have work to do. Like my capacity is just not where we want it to be yet.
When you're in one of your events, like event 3,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you know that you're the best in the world at legless, right? And you attack that workout because you know that's yours. Do you think you'll ever get to a point where a running workout you can attack?
Yeah, that's the goal with everything, right? Like we want to get to a place where like the programming doesn't matter and you're just excited for all of it equally. And obviously there's going to be things that like you're more happy about than others, but like I want to get to the point where like I'm not even thinking about my placement, like I just know it'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Because nobody wants to navigate a workout. You want to attack the workout.
totally, totally.
Um, so you go into that weekend, and I asked about goals, and I wanted to follow up here. Your goals are to be better at the CrossFit Games. Last year, you won the West Semi. Is that important to you still, or does that not matter because it's not really the end goal?
I was butthurt. Justin was too. Not in the sense of like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter. It's not the CrossFit Games, but like it was more in the sense of like I had the capacity. It's like when when you know you have the ability to do something and you fail to do it, then like I feel like it's okay to be upset. If I was out there and I was like I didn't get 350 on the snatch event and Olivia got 358, like that's not realistic. That's not fair to be upset about. Like that's just not fair. But like for me, like I know that like I had the physical capability to do better on the snatch event than I did, but I allowed my mental block to get in the way, and so therefore like my placement was bad. That pulled me pretty much completely out of the pocket to win. Um and so like it sucks when you know that just like it was yours to lose and you lost it essentially. And of course, like I'm not taking anything away from Abby. I think she's a phenomenal athlete. Like she was very consistent all weekend. But like I also like I beat her in 4 of 6 events. You know, like I just like I happened to suck at one and that pulled me out, which it is what it is. So we were butthurt, but like it's what second place is what I earned, and just gonna use that for motivation, you know.
It's funny because you and Abby are so different, right? Like you have these home runs that you're going to win, and but with that comes the snatch ladder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where Abby just was like even keel the whole weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And this is no disrespect to you at all. I
Yeah.
was watching the event, and it was both you and Abby were the quietest podium I'd ever seen, and you won 2 events.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because the bubble to qualify was changing every event
Mm-hmm.
that's where all the attention went
Mm-hmm.
for the spectator.
Yeah.
You
No,
guys
that
were
makes sense.
quietly
Like,
winning.
yeah, I remember watching like, because it's always good to like go back and watch your events and like try to learn things. And I remember like the last one, I was like, oh, he can't even see me, which is fine. But like you're right, like the attention was on the qualifiers, which it's part of the show, and hopefully that makes more people engaged. And um, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Which is insane because you won the event and we never saw you on screen.
I know, but that's okay. They showed me at the end lunging. That's okay.
Yeah, I have lots to say about the media coverage of the events.
Yeah. I
But
think.
they did do a couple cool things. So I don't want to the rig cameras that they put in this year.
Oh, I
I don't
didn't
know if you
see
even
that.
noticed that. So like when you guys were on a row or a bike, they had cameras on the rig
Uh huh.
that they could with a remote control like look down and pan over you guys from above.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it gave like a 3 shot instead of a 1 shot, which was way better than things they've done in the past.
Yeah, it was really funny. I remember Adrian Conway's such a nice commentator. I remember, so I watched the Snatch Ladder back, and I don't think you could have said this any nicer of a way. Essentially saying that I suck at snatching. He was like, not verbatim, but like close enough. He was like, you know, Alex is one of the strongest athletes in the game, and like you see it in her clean and jerk and the deadlift and her bench press. The snatch is just such a technical movement that she's still working on mastering. And it was so good. I was like, thanks, Adrian. That's like the nicest way to tell me I suck.
So the exact opposite of Justin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he knows. Like, we all know. Yeah. Words didn't even really need to be said after that one.
Um, Speaking of media coverage, a couple times this year while watching, cameramen got in the way or they kicked the riser out from underneath trying to get a close up. Have you ever had a cameraman get in your way on the floor?
No, I don't pay attention.
Yeah, this was like he almost tripped over the riser right in front of the athlete.
Yeah, that's on them. They gotta do a little better.
Yeah, that was in Europe, so it didn't affect you, but
Yeah.
wow. I was just like, man, don't you have a zoom on that lens where you don't have to be that close?
Yeah, that's rough.
So you finished the weekend, 2 wins, your butt hurt. Do you use that chip then to move forward? Do you need a chip? on your shoulder?
I don't need a chip on my shoulder. It just like obviously reminds you that like nothing is guaranteed. So you gotta like you just have to show up. You have to do your shit. Um, and like again, this is like nothing to Abby, but like I'm thinking about so many other athletes too that I'm competing against, not just Abby. And like the games is different. Like the games is 12 events, and a fifth place at semifinals is going to be like a 15th at the games. And hopefully my first places will still be first, if not top five. So like the games is just different. It's a different animal entirely. And you can't, like, for example, Ariel at semifinals last year got third, and then she got third at the games, you know? Um, and Laura got second at semifinals and then won the games. So, as much as like you want to carry all that into the games, like you can, but it's just different. It's a different thing entirely.
The one thing I had to learn as an analyst is you can't put a ton of weight into semis.
Yeah.
You just because it's a different event.
Yeah.
And early on when I started this, I put way too much weight on it and made my predictions based on it, and they were always wrong.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, especially because in semifinals, it's really hard to test everything because you have 6 events, and there's always going to be something that's missed that is a big shifter. So, like, we had no handstand push-ups, and handstand push-ups can be a huge change for people. Or we didn't have like burpees, thrusters, wall balls. Like, there's so many movements that we didn't have that like could change things up. So I agree. It's like easy to feel like you have all the answers after semis, but there's so much more.
The other thing is you have a deeper field at the games that can middle,
Mm-hmm.
that someone's just good at this one thing and they middle between you and Abby at the games, and now all of a sudden your lead on that win gets bigger.
That's what
Right.
I was saying about like
Yeah.
like I got a third on event 2, but at the games I'd probably be like 10th, 11th, you know. Um if you get 5th, it might be like 15th, like cuz you just like you said there's so many athletes that are so good that it just messes with stuff. So,
Even when you look at Tia winning 5 events in the East,
mm-hmm.
there were times faster than her on some of those events that she wouldn't win at the games, right?
Yeah,
Laura would have beat her on 2 events.
I got
You
her
would
on
have beat
2.
her. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
as dominant as that looked, if the full field's there, she's
Yeah,
not
but
winning those
she still
events.
would have been so dominant though, because all of her scores would have been.
I'm trying to give you like
No, it's okay. I'm a very realist. Like I don't sugarcoat shit. Like I don't like to go in with a false reality, and I know that she's just on a different she's on a different level. And like I'm not saying people can't be good and can't beat her in events. That's not what I'm saying. Like I'm not counting myself out of events, but like as a whole, like she's just where she's at and I'm not there yet. Like I'm not, and I'd love to be and hopefully I can be, but
she's
yeah.
never going to have a 23rd. That's the
No.
problem. But
Yeah.
here's my problem is early on this season, I did not pick her to win the games in the spin poll. Like I
Mhm.
didn't have her ranked first. And
Yeah.
now I'm just hanging on to that prediction when I probably shouldn't.
Who did you put first, Laura?
I did not. I actually had Emma Lawson first.
Oh, Emma's really good. She's very good.
Yeah, I mean, she took second last year and she's young and still has that room to grow. Now, the news coming out this week doesn't make me feel solid in that pick now, but
Yeah, but maybe her coach getting on top of it now, the fact that she did do semis is a good sign. And um, Emma's I don't know if you've had the opportunity to actually speak with her, um, but she's so mature and she's so kind. And like you can tell she really, like, every time I've ever talked to her, like, I never got this sense of like, oh, I'm just a CrossFit athlete, you know, and like I'm the best. Like she just was so humble and sweet and kind, and like I guess my whole point of saying that is like if her coach recognizes that she's feeling a certain way, like I would imagine that if any like duo could get through that, I would imagine it would be them.
Yeah, and I noticed that you're on social media, but you're not like there all the time.
Hmm.
Like I don't see a post a day.
Yeah,
Other athletes, I do see that all the time.
yeah. I actually need to get better. It's hard, but like being a making money as a CrossFit Games athlete means being a full-time athlete, a full-time social media person, and it does not come naturally to me, so we're working on it.
So let me throw this because I've seen you in the chats on Kill Taylor.
Mhm.
There are these things coming up now where like people are getting the opportunity to make money by competing, not by being an influencer, right?
Yeah.
Win prize money against Taylor. But then they did Taylor versus the world where Hopper and Dallin and Colton and Taylor did the quarterfinals together
Hmm.
and they all won money.
Yeah, I think that's cool. That's very cool.
I co-host a show with Carolyn Prevost,
Hmm.
and she says that women are not as inclined to show their hand in the quarterfinals or semifinals as much as men are.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I'd agree with that statement. I don't really care as much. Like for me, it's not about showing my hand. Um, for me, I like anything to minimize like that competition feeling sometimes is nice. Like obviously the idea of doing Taylor versus the world with a ton of girls would be fun and like that's really cool. Um, but you're also like, okay, that's a whole nother element of like competing. So you have to like be able to process those feelings and deal with the stress of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think girls tend to have more of a scarcity mindset of like there's only room for me and no one else. Whereas like I think guys can like kind of be a little bit more like yeah, like they can be good at that and I can still beat them. Whereas like girls are like, "Oh, she's good at that?" Like no. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
I think but I think that's just girl nature, which kind of sucks.
Let me phrase a question in this way.
Hmm.
If you had the opportunity to support yourself by going public with a group of girls to do quarterfinals
Hmm.
or having to do more social media posts,
Oh, I'd go public with quarterfinals for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I because I just
And
watching it as an observer, those guys became so popular.
totally.
Right.
And the nice thing about it too is like quarterfinals is stressful in the sense of like when am I going to do each workout? How am I going to set it up? And like if you do it in a setting like that, like it takes the thought element out cuz you're just like, all right, like we're doing it in this order. It doesn't matter if I might have less of an advantage compared to the world, like I'm doing it the same as these three ladies or these two ladies. And so like we're at least in the same boat, you know?
Yeah. And Hopper won $5,000, which is as much as you win for semifinals.
Yep.
Like, and I hope that we can come up with ways as third party media to keep coming up with new ideas for ways to make athletes money and to
Totally.
make the sport more popular. Because I think quarterfinals were some of the best programmed events that I wanted to see, and you
Hmm.
couldn't because everybody did it online.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Oh, also, just a heads up. I just have to be done by 9. Is that okay?
Yeah, we're going to be done by 9.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, I don't go over. I try not to go over an hour
Okay.
ever.
I was
So
just giving you a little heads up.
yeah, I'm not Savant. I don't keep you here for like 6 hours.
Yeah. I normally don't mind. I just, like I said, today's just
Yep, all
crazy.
good. Um, so shoot the club up says better hair, Emma or Gazan.
Emma,
I think it's always Alex.
uh, is you referring to Emma Carey
Uh,
or Emma Lawson?
Emma Lawson doesn't have like unique hair.
Yeah.
I mean, Emma Carey kind of does, right?
She has curly hair, yeah.
Yeah. So cool. So now your training is ramping up. You're getting ready for the games.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going? And you said Chris is coming at the end of the month. Do you have plans for that?
Yeah, so him and my mindset coach are both going to be here, and Justin, obviously. So I think they're going to put the hammer on me a little bit. And, but obviously, like having them all here is such a blessing. And it's like, it kind of feels, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, when I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like 3 coaches here to like be with me. It's like kind of this surreal feeling where like, it like really helps me to like take a step back and be like grateful. But don't get me wrong, it's gonna be a hard week, and I'm gonna be a hot mess express probably by the end.
Do you still have to pinch yourself that you're in this position now?
Like I said, yes, but also like it's not as glamorized as I like imagined. It's really hard. So it's like both. Like I feel like after competitions when you're like meeting people and you get to see little girls that are like excited to do CrossFit because of you, or you get sweet messages, like those are the moments where I'm like, wow, like this is so cool and I'm so thankful. But when you're alone doing a shitty workout in the garage, like don't really need to pinch myself for that one.
You know, it's funny because you say that because the Buttery Bros came to do a workout with you, and I thought it was a great example of the shit work you have to do. That
Mhm.
because it was a running workout on a really hot day
Mhm.
out of your garage. Is that, and usually you're doing that without them there.
Yeah.
So did you feel that was a good depiction of your day normally?
Yeah, that was a really good depiction of like games training, and of course having people there's more fun. But yeah, that was like a really good accurate example of like a full day.
Ugh. Yeah, that looked brutal. And I hate running, so that's
Yeah.
um do you try to get out of the gym occasionally and do some training elsewhere?
Um Give me like what do you mean elsewhere?
Like maybe go on a hike this day or a trail run as opposed to like just running down the street, or does your schedule just not allow that?
My programming doesn't really allow it. Like training is training. um I get out like I have a some friends at a gym right by my house. So like sometimes like we work out together and that's fun, but like no. It's pretty black and white.
Yeah. That because I was talking to Hattie Canyo, and like if she doesn't get to the mountains every once in a while, like that is no good for her mental game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like yeah, for me I guess like where I get the mental reprieve is like the days that I work out with the boys at like the gym over here, and they're like really lighthearted and it's fun. Um and then just like soaking up all the other things on my rest day that I can. But yeah, training doesn't have a lot of wiggle room really.
Do you still have a dog?
I do. We have 2 actually. Um, Luna, who I got from the pound after my pity passed away. And then my husband found Shadow. He's like a Dutch Shepherd. He found him on the side of the road on his way from California, and he had no chip, no collar, and he's really one of the sweetest dogs. So it's been cool.
Is it important that you have that companionship to come
Oh
home
yeah,
to?
especially when Jake's gone. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Do they ever come to the garage with you?
They love it. Like they get if I lock them out, they'll cry the whole time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just have a little dog, and he's the best.
They are. What kind of dog do you have?
He's a Chihuahua uh, mix with,
Okay.
he looks like a mini Rottweiler is what he looks like,
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
with big ears, and he's black and brown.
That's really cool.
But he likes to do tricks, and we have a lot of fun with him. But this has been awesome as always catching up with you. Um, it was fun getting to know Jake last year at the games because he worked for us.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
what I found really fun is he would go out to film a heat and he'd come back and I would look at all the footage and it's all Alex. I mean, that dude is 100% in love with you.
I hope so. He married me.
But I have so much footage of you from the games last year.
Yeah.
So much footage. He did a great job too. He's getting better and better.
Yeah. He enjoys it. I think it's like fun for him. A good little like something for him to focus on.
Yeah, it allows him to get his nerves settled at a competition like that.
Yeah.
Because he is invested in how you do as well.
Totally. For sure.
So it was great getting to know you both last year. So much better. And thank you so much for your time.
Oh, of course, anytime.
And we will thank you to everybody in the chat for being here too. We'll see everybody next time on the Clydesdale Media Podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye.